Everyone, welcome back to the series. Again, I did not have the microphone turned on, and on the GoPro I actually had my finger over the microphone, so I'm gonna have to do the voiceover. But we've got our bed outside. We've stood it up on its side, and it's being supported in a couple of areas, so there's no chance that thing's gonna tip over on us. We're just taking a cleaner and a degreaser and just wiping everything down. I did have to do some more welding here where the dump hoist is actually going to connect to the bed, and we just took some more 6-inch C-channel and reinforced it. So our first process we did is we took some Scotch Brite pads that were a little coarse, and we rubbed the whole thing down, all the welds, the underside of everything, just to get off any oils or grit that might be stuck up there. The bed is approximately 8 feet wide or standing tall by 9 feet long. We've also gone along, and all the welds, we just hit them with a sanding disc to smooth those over. Here's a seam sealer, and it's still a little bit squishy. It hasn't hardened all the way, but here's just another angle of it. You can see where we've sealed it in this C-channel right here, and it provides a good bond. And underneath here you can tell how the C-channel is and how we just took the sheet metal and set it on top of the C-channel, and that seal will prevent any water from draining down. So we've got it stood up. We're just going to start wiping the whole thing down from one side to the next with this thinner that we've got, or excuse me, this type of prep. So as Kevin's there wiping it, I'll show you the paint that we're going to use. First, we are going to use a primer, which is green, and then we're going to use this enamel, this dark gray, for the top coat. And we found if we add this hardener to it that it dries a little bit better. So the primer that we're using is this Nason Select Prom. We've had really good results with this. It is really thin, and it goes on really nice and provides a good adhesion for our top coat of paint. So it has turned nighttime on us, and I do have a 3M respirator that is rated for the paint that we're using because of the VOCs. So here you can tell this paint, it goes on and it's almost transparent. It dries really quick, and when it dries it turns almost this grayish color if it's too thin. But you can see here I'm putting this primer on, and I'm falling right behind Kevin, just making sure that we get good coverage. And you can tell here that I'm getting good coverage, but as it starts to dry it'll actually kind of start changing colors, so just got to make sure you get coverage when you're putting it on. I am using a 3M, I forget the name of the gun, but it does have the replaceable tips, and we're getting really good use out of this gun, and it just seems like everything flows out of those plastic tips really good. So we'll put a link in the video for that gun. So as you can see, we've got the whole thing primed. There are some areas that we'll go back and touch up that we might didn't get just as thick. You can tell there are some runs in it. That's where, for whatever reason, I just messed up. But we do have the whole thing primed. We're gonna let it dry, and this stuff dries really quick. If there are any runs, we can just take some sandpaper or a sand and sponge, just touch those up, and you'll never see those in the final coat. For the final coat of paint here, we are mixing this hardener in, and I think it is 2 ounces of hardener per quart of paint. So basically 1 can of hardener per gallon is the mixing ratio. And we're putting in a little bit of paint thinner. So we're gonna mix it up. We're going to get back out here and start painting, and you can't hear me talk. So I've got my respirator on and our paint is mixed up. And this is actually a point while I'm painting, the camera's gonna go dead, and I didn't realize it until after I painted. We decided to paint on this night because there was gonna be no wind. So you can tell as I'm painting, I mean, there's just no wind out, and it was a nice, I think it was like 65 that night, so it was a nice temperature. This paint gun that I'm using is an automotive quality gun. And if you're gonna do any amount of painting, it's good just to go ahead and invest in this gun versus one from like a box store. This gun is about twice as much money, but it just works really, really good. And since you can replace the tips, you don't have to buy the expensive cleaner. So for our purposes, we do, we'll paint a couple beds and then that's it. So it works out really good for us. As I'm painting this, I've found if I go in and I cut in all the areas first, that it's easier, and then I can come back and then paint sort of that center panel or that center area last. I'll get better coverage. So you can see I'm taking each little square and I'm cutting around the edges and then painting everything else that's around it. And then lastly, I will paint the center before I move on to our next area. So thanks for watching the video. Subscribe to our channel, post any comments or questions below. This is where the camera actually dies, so we'll just get a couple more seconds of me painting. And our next video, we should be, I think, putting the body on the vehicle. Thanks for watching. Bye.